You're already late, man. You're already 30 seconds too late.
Taking too long to answer.
Just hit the red button at the top.
It's on. It's on.
Okay, cool. All right, it should be showing up somewhere on our phones. Hopefully.
It's a nice picture of you holding Pedro's baby.
Yeah, it is a nice picture.
It is, especially because that baby probably won't be talking
okay.
to you in a couple of years.
So that is showing up there. That's good.
Did you hear that?
Yeah, probably. Whatever you say.
I said especially because that baby probably won't be talking to you in a couple of years.
Probably. You do realize that,
They're not going to deal with the pain.
For more details, go to imlistening.org.
This program is a paid commercial announcement and in no way represents the views of WPHT or its management.
WPHT, WPHT-HD, WOGL HD3 Philadelphia. An Odyssey station. Investor Schooling Live with Phil Falcone and Larry Steinhaus on Talk Radio 1210 WPHT.
Good afternoon and welcome to Investor Schooling Live. Coming to you from Investor Schooling headquarters, I'm Phil Falcone here with my business partner, Larry Steinhaus. We are the founders of Investor Schooling. Get ready to learn real estate investing and stock option investing. Call us anytime during the show with your questions at 855-939-1137. 855-939-1137. That's right, we're a live program, so you can call us anytime during the show, and we will take your calls. Do not worry about what we're talking about, because we love to take your calls. Investor Schooling is located in Langhorne, Pennsylvania, serving the Philadelphia area in a real brick-and-mortar building. That's correct, we are local guys, accessible to our students, a minimum of 2 nights per week. Learn this business. That's the business of real estate investing and stock option investing from people who live it every day. Yo, Larry, what's happening?
What's going on, Phil? So you came back to a brand new studio.
Yeah, it's awfully nice.
Are you excited about the brand new studio?
I don't typically get excited about this kind of thing, but it is very, very nicely done.
Are you glad that you can see me now?
I would say that this studio looks like a better quality than the last one we were in.
So, wait, but does it look better than the quality of PHT?
That's what I meant.
Okay, because
Yeah.
I agree. I think our studio looks nicer than their studio.
It looks pretty awesome, man.
Yeah, well, maybe we'll have to have those people down here, like Susan Paganos and Frank and Allie, come down here and actually see what a good studio should look like.
Well-
A studio where the co-host and the host can see each other.
Well, the problem with that studio was, the biggest problem is a co-host that you're talking to can sit 4 feet away from you and you can't see him.
That's right, because they had the monitors right in front of
yeah,
your
like
face.
36-inch monitors.
I don't know how Dom Giordano and all those guys could sit there and have people in the same room with them.
Well, we know that they can't see each other.
Yeah, so we just want to make sure that we
Right.
have this conversation while Frank is sitting there in the studio right now listening to us, training his new engineer.
Oh, and by the way, Frank might find it interesting to know that even the producer couldn't see us.
Yeah, even the producer could. That's right, because he was on
Right.
the wrong
I
side.
remember doing jumping jacks, trying to get him to look at me.
Yeah, and in our studio, our producer, all we have to do is wave at him, and he could see us.
And he's sitting right there.
And everybody in the studio, I want you to introduce yourselves to Pedro. Pedro is our new in-studio producer, and we have a new producer, Sean, also in PHT today. So it's pretty cool. We have a new studio, we have 2 new producers, and we have Frank sitting in on the radio show with us. And hey, Sean, do me a favor. Send me a text message. Let me know if Frank's been laughing or if he's crying over this conversation, because I just need to know for the future. So
My guess is he's upset, but he's not crying. Not quite enough crying. But if we keep messing with him, we might be able to get him to cry.
we could always get in the conversation about Odyssey.
Yeah, we could talk about Odyssey today. I think that's interesting.
Yeah, you want to talk about Odyssey? Just
I think let's talk about it right now.
you want to do that? Okay.
So
All right.
probably
yeah, we're marketers. So first of all, go ahead, Phil.
All right. Well, definitely marketing is a huge part about what you do when you're an entrepreneur, right? You have to have skills in marketing. You have to know how to name things appropriately and market those things in a manner for which people will be able to remember it. One of the greatest apps I've ever seen was called Radio.com.
Radio.com.
Radio.com. Who's going to ever forget that? Apparently, they want Philadelphia to forget it.
Radio.com. So if you go to radio.com, you would assume that you're going to have radio.com, and that would be the radio station, right? Right.
You would think that is an amazing name for an app.
I would think so too. And
And
now it's called
radio.com, and you could get any radio station that's affiliated with that company, which was a lot. But then they changed the name to, is it autoimmune disease? No.
Audacity.
Audacity? Is it Audacity?
Automated City. I know what it is. It's Odyssey. I can't remember now.
What does Odyssey mean?
What does it mean? It means that the guy who created it means that there's somebody in. I guess it's Odyssey.com now is the name of the company, or Odyssey, whatever. It's somebody in that company who probably won't have a job for after 6 months.
Well, look, we probably shouldn't keep talking about this because I don't need another phone call
No, right?
getting in trouble about something that I said or implicated slightly.
All I know is we just built this $50,000 radio studio, and we're about to be thrown off the air because we're making fun of Odyssey.
By the way, even if we did make fun of Odyssey, we still are on 10 other stations.
That's true,
right?
But Odyssey takes care of us.
They do. They're
so
good
if you want to give people our podcast, we're also on Spotify, but we're also on Odyssey.com, AUDICY.com. And if you haven't heard how to spell Odyssey at least 17 times on PHT during the week, because radio.com, everybody knows how to spell that, but Odyssey,
you don't
they don't.
really need to tell people how to spell radio.com.
Right.
That's actually a really good benefit of it, right? Like almost, Forrest Gump knows how to spell radio.com. All right?
Hey, Pedro, do you know how to spell Odyssey? He's shaking his head yes.
Yeah. And then no.
And then no.
Yeah.
All right. Well, at least I know that Frank found it funny because Sean did text me and say that he's laughing hysterical. Yeah. All right. So what are we here? We're not necessarily here to make fun of Odyssey, are we? We're here to make fun
why don't we get into some of our topics today? Would you like me to run through them?
Why don't we do that? Yes.
All right. So first of all, we wanted to talk a little bit about we're on 10 stations now, featured in 72 shows a month and 18 shows a week. How about that?
That's pretty awesome, man.
It's not bad, man. That's and guess what? It's just the beginning. Because we are going to blow this thing up. And I mean blow it up. Not the way Odyssey blows up radio.com. In a good way. Okay. We're also going to talk about what is a clean and sweep. And that's a topic we like to talk about from time to time. It's one of our favorite kind of deals. Are cap rates the best way to value a property that you're buying? We're going to discuss that. And if you're a realtor or a real estate investor, that's a topic that you definitely want to listen to. Does cold calling work? Is the vacation rental business still good? And we're going to end our show with the stock option Sultan giving us his picks of the week. Now, if you want to listen to a segment that will actually make you money on Monday, real money, you want to listen to the stock option Sultan, which comes up in the last 10 minutes of our show. Now, we also want people to call our show at any time at 855-939-1137. That's 855-939-1137. But if you're shy and you don't want to call the show, you can send your questions to info@investorschooling.com. That's info@investorschooling.com. And today we got a question. And the question is, what is the best way to learn from you guys?
All right. So you ready for the answer?
Sure.
It's funny. You and I get the same thing. We get people who will reach out to us on Facebook. Hey, Phil. Hey, Larry. Can you tell me how to close this deal or how to buy this property? Or, hey, I've got an ARV of $100,000 and I'm buying the property at $30,000. I'm putting in $30,000. Is it a good deal? And we honestly just don't have the time to answer every single one of those messenger questions.
Yeah, especially because you have to ask them 3 more questions
Right,
before you can even answer the question.
Right. So what we will do is we will actually have you come to our class Thursday night for free. Is it free or complimentary? I still never get this right.
The first one is free.
The first one's free.
Okay, if you behave yourself, right, we might invite you back to another class, and the second class is the complimentary class.
Right. So they could come to a free class this Thursday night, which is 4 days from now if you're listening to the live broadcast, or 2 days from now if you're listening to one of the repeats, or possibly even yesterday if you listen to another one of the repeats. But wait, there's another Thursday, so it's okay. So, so on Thursday you'll come, and by the way, we are also in California. We're also transmitting in California. So anyone who hears us anywhere, we have Zoom classes, and our Zoom classes aren't just like, the box with a bunch of people on it. We actually put together a professional presentation on Zoom that you'll be able to be like you're in the class and ask questions, do everything that you would normally, and we could even bring you in on the Zoom. So if you're listening to our voice, you could go to investorschooling.com, and you absolutely could register right now for a class in person or a class via Zoom. They are exactly the same, so don't worry about that. And we're going to also have a lot of fun. I'm telling you, if you've never seen one of our classes, you just don't know how much fun this really is. What do you think, Phil?
Correctamundo.
And we will answer your questions. We will answer your questions online, or we will answer your questions live in person, and we'll be able to help you with your deal. And we have people. Look, we tell people all the time that the cost of our classes is less than your first mistake. And I promise you, it really is less than your first mistake. I've seen people make some major, major mistakes before they come see us. I'm like, oh, man, all you had to do was talk to me for 5 minutes, and I would have told you not to do what you just did. I have one guy who comes to me. He's a friend of mine, and he's always asking me landlord questions. And he keeps making the same mistakes over and over and over again.
What is that?
The biggest mistake he's making is he's actually talking too much to his tenants, where he basically, if the tenant has a problem, he discusses it with them instead of saying, no, the rent's due on the 1st, on the 2nd it's late, on the 5th it's a late fee, and on the 15th I file for eviction. So when the tenant calls up and says, hey, it's the 7th, is it okay if I pay without the late fee? He goes, all right, as long as you give me my money tomorrow, which is a big mistake. The answer is, the rent's due on the 1st, on the 2nd it's late, on the 5th it's a $150 late fee, and on the 15th I file for eviction. There should be no other conversation. Something's broken, fine, I'll have somebody over there fix it. But that's it, there's no other conversation. And he just has conversations with the people, and it's a nightmare.
Well, as you know, I've devised a system where you never have to talk to your tenants.
Which system is that? Oh.
When I send them an invoice, if I have anything to say to them,
right.
I type it on the invoice as a note.
So this is interesting. You and I have a different philosophy on this, and we should discuss this on the air because I think it's a great philosophy.
I believe we are discussing it on the air.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm glad you told me that because I wasn't sure.
Yeah.
So Phil sends his tenants an invoice. I personally don't do that. I actually just trust them to send their rent every month. And Phil and I have approximately the same amount of tenants, so it's not like we can prove that one works over the other. Mine works, his works. But when you talk about what you do, I do like the advantages. And why don't you talk about what the advantages are sending invoices?
Well, a lot of landlords don't send invoices out. And it's a very easy thing to set up in QuickBooks. And once you set it up, you simply go into an invoice template, you put in the client's name, you save it, and then each month you just click on the same tenant's invoice, and it just pops up. And you can thank them for paying on time. You can remind them that there's a late fee. You could attach a water bill. You can do anything you want to do. And that's something that I do all the time. And why do I do that? So let's talk about that real quick. Everybody else in the world that you owe money to sends you an invoice. Do they not? Your credit card company sends you an invoice. The electric company sends you an invoice. Water bill sends you an invoice every month. I know they do, no matter where your properties are. They're in Florida, they send me an invoice. They're in Pennsylvania, they send me an invoice. I'm constantly bombarded with invoices, sometimes so many of them in my real estate portfolio that it's hard to figure out exactly what it is at first. But the reason I send invoices to my tenants is because I know that everyone else that they owe money to sends them an invoice. And I do not want to be the only guy who doesn't send them an invoice. I think it's common sense, something that every landlord should do. And I do some other things that are different. Like one of the other philosophies I have is if I have an existing tenant in a property and that tenant is saying to me something like, hey, our bathroom is not in great shape, we would like you to renovate it. Or possibly he wants to renovate the kitchen. I typically will not do those kind of renovations for a tenant because those kind of things are major renovations, like doing a whole kitchen or doing a new bathroom. I typically would like to do a new bathroom or a new kitchen anytime a place is vacant. Preferably not both, but if I had to do both, it's certainly something I can do. And the reason I don't want to do those things unless the property is vacant, because it's way too difficult to make a major revision like a kitchen when you are still living in a building. That is way too difficult. But what is quite possible is doing it when no one's in the property is the best time to do it. And what also allows me to do is now I can jack up the rent substantially because I just put in a new kitchen or a new bathroom. And why is that important? Because now I can justify the expense. If I could bump the rent $250 because it has a brand new kitchen, I can easily justify spending the $7,000 or $6,000 or $8,000 that I spent on that new kitchen. So it now makes mathematical sense for the landlord to make these changes.
You know, Phil, we made fun of Odyssey, and you know what happened?
Odyssey.
We lost our connection. Isn't that hard? Isn't that funny?
We lost our connection to Odyssey.
Well, we'll back up, but we were out for about 5 minutes during our entire conversation about landlording. We were off the air.
Our whole show went blank for 5 minutes?
Yeah, for about 5 minutes. But, you know, I think it's, you know, that's basically karma, I believe, right?
I guess. We mess with them, they mess with us.
Right, exactly. But we were still live on Facebook and YouTube and all the other places. So, but I just found that very funny that after we make fun of them, they, you know, we get disconnected. And I'm sure Frank was probably panicked, but at the same time, it's kind of funny. But listen, if you guys are online, you can call us at 855-939-1137, 855-939-1137, and ask us questions. If you're in your car, 855-939-1137. Ask us questions about anything. We had a lot of fun with, we were just talking about landlording, and I realized you know, if you're in the car, you might have missed part of it, but at the same time, we promise you that we'll repeat it again at another time, and also on Thursdays.
You know what's interesting, too, is we are on 10 radio stations, 72 shows a month, 18 shows a week. If you call us with a question, you will be on 10 radio stations, 72 shows a month, and 18 shows a week.
Oh, I meant to tell you something, too.
What's that?
And I know this is going to upset you.
Go ahead.
But I got about 5 calls during the week about my mask story 2 weeks ago, and people were very happy about it. They were like, oh, I'm so glad you did that.
Well, I'm happy that you're happy.
There's that face again, the same face I saw with the mask story the last time. Let's get back to real estate.
I don't particularly like when you hijack the whole show to tell a story at the beginning. I typically like a radio show to drop bombs about some interesting things that we're going to talk about.
Well, go ahead. Let's go to the next topic since our radio audience missed the last one.
The next topic is what is a clean and sweep. Would you like to talk about that?
Actually, you know what? I would like to talk about it, but I know it's one of your favorite things, and you actually made this term up, clean and sweep, didn't you?
Sort of, yeah.
Yeah. So clean and sweep is basically, you know, you buy a property and you literally close on it. It's, you know, wholesaling is typically when you're wholesaling a property, you don't necessarily close on it, but a clean and sweep property, you're typically closing on it.
Typically, you have to, because the kind of stuff that you're going to do to the house is going to require an investment. Not a tremendous amount, but it might be $5,000 or more, and you don't want to do that kind of expenditure without owning the house already.
Right, exactly. You want to make sure you
theoretically could
Right.
not buy the house and make the changes that we make in a clean and sweep. But if you have the money laying around, which I had, I typically want to just buy the property. So
Yeah.
what is a clean and sweep? The most perfect example of a clean and sweep that I talk about is a house I did. I think the address was 1151 Layton Avenue in Bustleton section, right by Cruise Town Shopping Center, if you know where that is. The Cruise Town Shopping Center in Northeast Philadelphia. It's in the Bustleton section. Very nice neighborhood. Houses around there go for over $300,000 if they're in good shape. Closer to $400,000 these days with the crazy prices of real estate market right now. It might even be as high as $450,000. But I was able to secure a house from a gentleman who sold it to me for $100,000. This house was in horrendous condition. First of all, the house had so much trees growing around the outside of the house that you literally could not see the house. Hardly not see the house. Maybe you could see like 10% of the house. That was it. Inside the house was one of the worst hoarder situations that I've ever seen. 3 to 4 feet of trash in the house. You really couldn't even walk in the house. You had to kind of walk on top of the trash, which was it was almost like walking in a 4-foot snowstorm. Like you really couldn't. You needed like tennis rackets to be tied to the bottom of your feet so you could walk on top of the trash, but that didn't work too good either. I found a dead squirrel in the kitchen, spread out. It looked like it had been to the taxidermy guy, and there were no guts inside of him, which means that he was laying in the kitchen long enough to completely disappear except for the skin. This house was a mess. We got something like 5 40-yard dumpsters to clean out all the trash from this house. Took 3 guys to do it, coming back to the house every couple days after they picked up the next dumpster, the next dumpster, the next dumpster. That's how we got rid of all the trash inside the house. And we had a tree guy come out and cut down all the trees around the house. So these was the only changes I made to this house. I bought this house for $100,000. The only changes I made to this house were cut down all the trees around the outside so you could see the outside of the house, and get rid of all the trash inside the house so you could actually walk around the inside of the house. All I was trying to do was to clean and sweep the house to make it look in a manner for which somebody could see the entire house and make an intelligent decision about whether or not they wanted to buy it. So I bought this house for $100,000. I put it up for sale. I don't remember what the original number was. It might have been like $135,000, something like that. It ended up selling for $172,000 on the MLS. And this is a house that I never really renovated. Total amount of money I spent was like $2,000 to the tree guys, the dumpster cost, which was a couple grand more, and paying the guys to fill up the dumpster. So, I mean, ballpark, I had about $5,500 into it, and I made a profit of $68,000 in 34 days.
That's pretty good, man. I like it when you make that kind of money.
Who doesn't?
Yeah, it's fun.
Right? So, you know, the real estate market is crazy right now. But don't think that you have to fix up every single house. You don't. There's plenty of people who would buy a house. Did I sell to them at a discount at $172,000? I mean, not really. Not really. But that's what happens in today's market. People just keep bidding, and you can get extreme numbers. It's not going to last forever, people, but if you come across a house where you can make minimum changes but have a maximum effect on the sale price, that is what I call a clean and sweep.
So here's a you reminded me of a deal that we did together. Actually, we did it together with a student, where we bought the house, we put it under contract, we bought the house, and our intention was to renovate it. We actually had a quote to have the property renovated. I think we paid $260 for it. I can't remember. I think we paid $260 for it, or $230 for it. No, we paid $230 for it.
And the quote was $70,000.
70 or $80,000 to renovate it, exactly right. And we thought we were going to sell this thing for maybe $410, $420 when we sold it. But we tell you as our students, we tell our students that when you buy a property, the second you close on it, even if you intend to renovate it, just put it on the MLS for something you would sell it for. So I think we paid $230 for it, and after closing costs, maybe out of pocket $250, not even $250, $240, and we put it up for $300,000, saying, okay, look, we'll take a $60,000 profit overnight if it happens. It turns out that there was a bidding war on this property. We ended up getting $350 for it. We made over $100,000 in 4 days.
And we didn't even expect it to sell for that number.
We didn't even expect it to sell for $300,000. We just put it up saying, "Yeah, we would take it." And somehow there was a bidding war on it, and it was the greatest thing ever. We made over $100,000 on it in seconds, in 4 days literally, and it was fantastic. It was just easy. So that was another one that we made some money on.
You're right. That was a clean and sweep because we never really renovated it. Did you do any minor things to it?
I didn't even move. I didn't even, after we closed on it, I know I was in charge of it, but after we closed on it, I didn't even go there to open the door to see if we wanted it or not.
Right.
We had a lockbox on it from when we put it under contract. We asked them to put a lockbox on to have our contractor go through. That same lockbox, in fact, I sold the property, or we sold the property. I was a trustee on that one, but we sold the property, and I told the real estate agent to just keep the lockbox.
Well, I do that too sometimes. I'm not driving to Brigantine
Right,
to get
exactly,
a lockbox.
right.
I'd rather go to Home Depot and just buy 3 of them,
Right.
and I'm good.
Right. It
Yeah.
wasn't worth it to pick up the lockbox.
Right. I just did that with the house I had in New Jersey that I was selling.
Yeah.
Right. I'm like, I'm not going back there for the lockbox.
Yeah, exactly.
I leave lockboxes all over the place.
Yeah. Hey, by the way, if you're in the car and you want to give us a call and talk to us about anything, 855-939-1137. You can talk to us about real estate. You can talk to us about stock options. You can talk to us about taxes. You can talk to us about if you're worried if Biden's going to cost us too much money. 855-939-1137.
You want to go to commercial?
Let's do it. Let's go to a commercial.
Yeah, I'm here.
Supposed to be listening to a commercial, but it's cool.
For schooling.
Here he is. All right. Keep going. InvestorSchooling.com. You heard my partner Phil Falcone tell you why you should be there this Thursday night to learn about real estate investing and learn about stock options trading. We're telling you right now you will make more money than you've ever made in your entire life if you learn these 2 skills. Be there this Thursday night at 7 o'clock in our Langhorne headquarters. Go to InvestorSchooling.com. Over right now, take out your phone and go to InvestorSchooling.com. RSVP right now. InvestorSchooling.com. See you Thursday.
Hi, I'm Phil Falcone from Executech Suites. We're an executive suite center in Huntington Valley on Buck Road, 67 Buck Road, Huntington Valley. I'm sure you've driven past it. We're right in between Street Road and County Line Road. We have 47 offices in the prestigious address of Huntington Valley. I have offices starting at $595 a month. You're probably wondering, Phil, what do I get for $595 a month? Let me tell you. You get an office big enough for one person. You get the furniture office. You get the telephone on the desk. You get the telephone numbers. You get the fax numbers. You get 2 full-time receptionists to answer the phone in the name of your company and patch the calls to you. So if your company's ABC Painting Company, hey, ABC Painting Company, how can I help you? Would you like to talk to Bob? Let me get him on the phone. You could be home sleeping on your couch and I'll patch the calls right to you. What else do we give you? We give you the conference rooms. We give you the kitchen. We give you the mailboxes, the printer, the copier, the scanner, UPS service, you name it. All of the utilities, cleaning service, and best of all, we give you free coffee. Get yourself to Executech Suites. Phone number is 215-942-7701. 215-942-7701. ExecutechSuites.com.
Hey, it's Larry Steinitz from InvestorSchooling.com. Hey, listen, one of the things we teach at Investor Schooling is stock options. Did you know that you can make 50, 100, 150% returns every year trading stock options? Yes, I know there's risk, but I'm going to tell you right now that some of the things we teach will help you mitigate that risk. Could you imagine when you look at your return and it shows 100% returns? You will be really happy. Come to a class this Thursday night at 7 o'clock. You can RSVP at InvestorSchooling.com. Our headquarters are in Langhorne, and you will learn stock options trading. Of course, you will also learn real estate investing. Come to InvestorSchooling.com. We will see you there Thursday night.
Guys, you there? Larry.
Investor
Larry,
Schooling
you guys
Live.
there?
How funny is that? We're
Hello?
getting, we're still getting the comments music. Challenges today, challenges. All right, there we go. Are we back? I think we're back. By the way, if you are in your car, you give us a call at 855-939-1137, 855-939-1137. So we're having some interesting challenges today, and nothing that we can't handle, but it's just kind of funny that we have a new producer, we have a new producer in office, we have a new producer of PhD, and we have a new studio. So please excuse us for some of the technical glitches that we're having today, but we're having lots of fun. Are you having fun, Phil?
Yeah, we'd be having more fun if there wasn't so many technical glitches.
Well, how they have the audacity to give us. Oh, is it or the Odyssey?
How do you spell that?
Audacity or Odyssey?
Audacity.
I don't know, whatever. They have the audacity to give us problems today. Isn't that terrible?
Yeah.
All right.
I remember when they changed the name to Odyssey. And I remember when they changed the name, they sent me this email telling me to get ready to be excited.
Yeah. And then I don't know, whatever. And it was so exciting it sounded like this. Ow, that hurts my ears. Did it hurt yours?
No.
All right. Anyway, 855-939-1137, 855-939-1137. You can talk to us about anything, real estate investing, stock options trading, the stock market, taxes, how Biden's going to affect your life in the next 4 years, and inflation. So any of those topics are open for grabs. 855-939-1137. So what's next, Phil?
Well, we got a question about cap rates. Are cap rates the best way to value a property you're buying?
So just to give people a definition of what cap rate is basically, if you were to take, for example, $100,000 and put it in the bank and you got 6% on your money at whatever investment, how does that compare to an investment that if you put the same $100,000 into, if it was real estate? Now, of course, there's a bunch of other calculations. You have to calculate how much money it's costing you for maintenance, how much it's costing you for advertising, how much it's costing you for debt service. But if you were to put the same $100,000 into a real estate, what would it be? So would it be equal to 6%, 7%, 8%? So typically a good cap rate would typically be 8% or more. If you were to put $100,000, for example, into a real estate investment, it's a little more work than maybe a mutual fund. So if a mutual fund is going to give you 6 or 7%, and if your cap rate is 8%, 9% on an investment property, then you're doing really well. However, I'm not a big fan of the calculation of cap rate. I like to make money. I don't like to make percentages of money because I know in the future I'm going to make more money. What do you think, Phil?
Well, as you know, I'm not a big fan of the cap rate either. There's a lot of different ways that you can value a property. If it's a residential property, you're valuing it based on comps. But you can also do a cap rate calculation if you're really like a geek and you want to look at every angle of possible ways that you can evaluate a property. There's also other formulas like gross rent multipliers. There's also a formula called the times 10 valuation calculation. So there's a lot of different formulas that you can use. But in the end, you need to know your market. You need to know what you're buying. Now, typically, you don't use cap rates on residential property, but you can. You can look at everything with all the formulas that you have available to you. If you're that kind of a geeky guy who really wants to check out the math and make sure that you're buying a good property, that makes sense to do it. I wouldn't tell anybody not to do it, but for the most part, cap rates are specifically used by commercial realtors, and you will often hear about them when you're looking at a piece of commercial property.
Yeah, and I actually look to see how much money I'm going to make. So a lot of times, we teach people how to buy properties with absolutely no money out of their pocket, and most of the properties I buy cost me nothing out of pocket. As a matter of fact, there are certain properties that I bought that have given me money at closing. For example, one of the ones I talk about often is I got a check for $35,000. I put no money down, I put no money at closing, and I walked away from closing at $35,000, and I still make $450 to $500 a month on that property. So the cap rate is infinite. If I'm making $450 a month and I pay nothing, my cap rate is infinite. So I can't Or is it zero? I don't even know if it's zero or infinite. I don't know which side it is.
Why don't you explain one of the deals, like one of your better deals that you got paid to buy?
Yeah, so this was a perfect one. This is one of my favorite ones. Is again, I went down. I spoke to the seller. I got the property under contract for $60,000, knowing that the property completely renovated would probably go for about $130,000 to $150,000. I borrowed from a private lender. I gave him no money down, no earnest money deposit. I went to closing. I borrowed money from a private lender who gave me $100,000, and they said, and at closing I got a check for $35,000, which actually most of the repairs didn't even cost me $35,000. It probably cost me $25,000 to repair it. So I actually, even at the end, still put the $10,000 into my pocket. I also now get about $450 to $500 a month in profit every month on that property after I pay my debt service and all of my other expenses. So I created money out of thin air. And I often do this. I often create money out of thin air. We often talk about it in class, how it happens. And then there are people who come to us, and just so you know, if you're listening, people who come to us and they say, hey, you know how to do that. How can I do that? I'm like, well, we're going to teach you how to do it, and you have to believe it can be done.
Well, you'll definitely believe it if you become a student here, because you'll hear enough of them over time that you'll totally believe it. But I can understand it that you might not believe it when you hear it on the radio or if you just heard it on a YouTube video or something. But trust me, we can do it.
Yeah, I'll show you. I will show you the settlement statements. I have no problem with it.
And look,
We're
not
transparent.
every deal is one that you get paid $35,000 on. But like, hey, I just did one in East Nyerton, and it's a house in very good condition. I had to do almost no work to it. But one thing I had to do was the guy was $15,000 behind in his mortgage. And I had to put up the money to make that happen. But I had the money. I was perfectly comfortable doing it. If you think about it, he's $15,000 behind in his mortgage. I pretty much put up the $15,000 to bring him current, right? But now I have $15,000 worth of equity in the building. So you could say it cost me $15,000. It did cost me $15,000 of actual money. But now I have $15,000 worth of equity in the building, and I'm making $600 a month on the cash flow. So, I mean, I was buying it because it was a good house. It's one of these houses that has this huge concrete base to it with brick walls coming out of this massive 3-foot wide concrete basement walls. And it's one of those houses, like, if you're familiar with, say, the Parkwood section of Northeast Philadelphia, a lot of those houses in that neighborhood are built that way. Those things are going nowhere. They don't age. Okay, the windows will age, the shutter will age, and the roof will age. The concrete walls and the bricks aren't going anywhere. And these houses are like fortresses. I mean, they'll probably outlast a nuclear bomb, provided it was dropped far enough away. All right?
Will that decrease the value?
No, actually it would increase the value, because if a nuclear bomb was dropped in some place like Baltimore, for example, all those people from Baltimore would need to come up to Philadelphia to buy houses, which I could sell at a premium. Well, think about it. Tell me, am I wrong?
No, I think you're right.
If tens of thousands of people lost their homes, wouldn't that drive the prices up?
Well, I just want to know, if a nuclear bomb hit, would people still be buying real estate?
Well, those particular people wouldn't be buying real estate. But the people who live on the outskirts of where the nuclear bomb went would want to leave the area.
Did you know that in Chernobyl, the nuclear levels are way down?
Well, it's about time. That was, about 50 years ago?
Yeah, but I don't think it was that much.
Have you ever watched that the movie, the HBO movie about Chernobyl?
No, but I did see some documentaries on Chernobyl, and they found that all the animals are thriving in there.
That's interesting.
That they don't have 3 heads, everybody expected. They're actually thriving. The radiation didn't affect the animal population at all. Maybe in the beginning it did, but now it's not.
One thing that's interesting about Chernobyl that you can learn about real estate from is, so what happened in Chernobyl, they totally abandoned the area, right? And they just left it be.
Right.
And it's amazing that you would think like buildings and bridges would outlast nature, but it doesn't. It doesn't. Concrete gets destroyed by
trees.
By weeds
Yeah.
coming through the concrete.
Sure.
And if you don't paint a bridge, it rusts and completely falls apart after maximum 75 years later. It falls apart. It becomes useless. So in 50 years or whatever it's been since Chernobyl happened, you can actually go to that area and realize that if a planet was populated by humans and then something like a pandemic killed all the humans, there would be no sign of the humans ever being on that planet after about 75 years.
Pretty cool. Hey, listen, we got a caller, man. We got Pete from South Philly. He wants to know about finding housing. What's going on, Pete?
Hey, good afternoon, guys. Awesome show as always. And Mr. Falcone, there has piqued my interest when he spoke about finding a house there that was behind, the guy was behind in his mortgage. Now, how do you find those type of houses or properties where someone's behind their mortgage and you bail them out and maybe you can make a deal? How do you find those things?
It's pretty easy. You go to a company that sells a list. If you're unaware of it, there are many companies that sell a list of anything that you want to buy. You could put together an extremely specific or an extremely generic list of questions. And for example, if you wanted to know who was in pre-foreclosure, all pre-foreclosure really means is that somebody's missed a mortgage payment.
I believe it actually goes on to pre-foreclosure when they hit the Act 92 notice. I always forget about Act 92 or 93 notice, which means they're 3 months behind.
Well, if you deal with short sale companies, they actually don't even require you to be delinquent on a payment to be willing to accept the deal.
Yeah, that's another issue, sure.
So I think it's a broad topic. I don't like the definition of what is a pre-foreclosure. It really just means that somebody who is missing a payment or even about to miss a payment, right? You can buy a list of people who are struggling to make their house payments, and then you buy that list, and then you could cold call those people. You could send them a postcard. You could send them a letter with the hopes that one of those people is going to call you for help. And what would an investor want to say on such a postcard or on such a phone call? I'd say, hi, I understand that it's come to my attention that you've missed a couple of mortgage payments, and there may be some options available to you that you're unaware of. Could I book an appointment with you and come out to your house to talk to you about some of those options? And you can learn about what those options are at a place called Investor Schooling this Thursday night at 7 o'clock. And
are we going to see you there, Pete?
I love to. I got to get away from the crazy house and the kids and wife. Let me ask you one more follow-up then with
Sure.
that. Is it legal? I'm not sure. I'm not sure about different states, but is it legal to hold the note to a property that's in pre-foreclosure, like offering to buy out their mortgage and you carrying the paper on that property?
It's not only is it legal, it's something we teach. So we teach you how to buy notes from mortgage companies. So sometimes a mortgage company doesn't want to deal with it. Let's say the person owes $100,000 and you're like, you know what? It's easier for us to just sell this note to somebody for $60,000, for example, and just get rid of it and not deal with it because we're going to lose $40,000 between lawyers' fees and this and that and the other thing. So we're just gonna sell the note for $60,000. Now all of a sudden you own the note, and it's up to you to try to figure out what you want to do with the note. There's certain things you can do. One is you can foreclose on a property, which, believe it or not, is actually the worst thing you can do. You can negotiate something with the owner of the property and say, listen, your normal payment was $1,000. Why don't we modify your payment to $700 and bring you current, or say, hey, listen, we're going to make you current and just start making payments from here. There's so many different ways to do that. Buying notes is a fantastic way to make money without owning the real estate. So yeah, I would absolutely try to do that.
I'll tell you what I'd like to do for you, Pete. Pete, if you promise to come to Investor Schooling this Thursday night at 7 o'clock, I will specifically do a presentation Thursday night for our students and for you about one of the strategies that I've used many times with people who are in pre-foreclosure.
But he's only going to do that if you show up, Pete. So if you don't do it, all the students are going to be disappointed.
He's got a promise.
I promise you, I'll get off work and I'll be there.
All right, 7 o'clock.
One last thing. I want to gobble up one more second. The town of Little Nicky down in Atlantic City, is it coming up or what? Is it a good place to buy now?
What was your question? Is Atlantic City a good place to buy?
Yeah, for a rental property, you think that's a good place to buy right now?
I'll tell you what. It's funny you say that because I go to Atlantic City a lot because my wife and I are poker players, and we actually, when we want to get away from our area, we go to Atlantic City a lot. So we go there like 3 times a year. We go there for our anniversary every year. We go there a lot. I'm very tempted to buy in that town. Very tempted. However, I've never pulled the trigger on a single deal there, and that tells you a lot about my mindset. I'm a little concerned. I wish, at one point I thought the town was headed for total death, but it somehow found a second wind and survived, all right? And, you know, the new giant hotel that has the golf ball on the top of it, what's that one called?
I'm not sure.
It's right on the beach. I thought that place was headed for total death. And then Trump, what used to be the Trump Taj Mahal is now the Hard Rock Cafe. And the Ravel was the old casino, and now it's called something else. I can't remember the name. And they're thriving. And I actually stayed there during the weekend of the Super Bowl because that's my anniversary weekend. So I go there every year. I should be able to remember the name of a hotel I go to every year, but apparently I can't.
You were busy. It was your anniversary.
Well, of course. I had a lot of business to take care of, not the normal kind of business.
And then you played poker, too.
Yes, of course. So, you know, Atlantic City is tempting. I definitely see some opportunity there, but it also concerns me a bit. It's,
Yeah, I hear what you're saying. And AC always has a way, and I used to go down there in the late 90s, early 2000s, which it was a great time. I'm sure you know. Great time. Hosts give you anything. They give away anything. You tickets to anything. It was a great time. But it just somehow always finds a way to rebound, I think. And I know it's very corrupt. Property taxes are high relative to other cities. But, yeah, I know. I'm getting a lot of feedback, especially out of the African American community, about a lot of hype and a lot of excitement. Maybe it's over the CBD thing. They're talking about building little, making like a destination spot for that kind of stuff. It's not my bag, but I'm getting a lot of chatter about it coming up. So I might take a plunge. But listen, guys, keep up the great work. I love listening to you.
all right, thanks for the call, Pete.
All right, what's next, Phil?
What's next? Why don't we talk about cold calling?
You know, I like that. I saw that topic was on here. I think that's a great topic about cold calling to try to get properties.
Have you ever spent any significant funds trying to do cold calling?
So this is interesting. I am a very good cold caller. Every business I've ever been in, I was very good at cold calling. I've never done cold calling to buy houses.
That's interesting.
Isn't it, though?
I mean, it's pretty cheap. I mean, and it's an effective way to make stuff happen. Like, I'll just give you an example. Like, I recently bought a list of 5,000 mobile home parks in Florida. We have found many potential opportunities down there.
That's awesome.
By cold calling people. But for whatever reason, some of those deals haven't panned out the way I hoped they would. Remember I told you
Right,
about the
yeah.
deal that I did? I did get back all my deposit money.
Oh, you did? Okay,
I
so
did.
she's done. She doesn't want to sell it to you anymore.
She started like she wouldn't give us the leases, she wouldn't give us a bank
Right.
statement, she wouldn't give us the tax returns. She started to have a behavior that I would describe as crazy.
Mhm.
And I thought to myself, do I really want to have to be dealing with this woman month after month? I was a little concerned. And then she started wanting to change the terms of the deal. And I think a lot of it had to do with she was bitter over my strong negotiation skills. So I believe that I was aggressive in my putting together offers with her, and I got both of her parks under contract. But I believe she deeply regretted signing the contracts with me. So she started to come up with everything she could think of to get out of the deal. Maybe she got a better offer from somebody. I don't really know. I don't really care. In the end, my sanity is more important than money. I have lots of ways to make money, so I'm not concerned about making money. And I started to get deeply concerned about doing business with this woman because of her behavior, trying to change everything, not giving us any of the information that we needed. wasn't really concerned so much about the information, but more concerned about dealing with her for the next 9 years or 8 years.
Yeah, because you were doing a seller
I was
finance
doing
deal.
seller
Right.
financing for 8 more
right,
years
right.
on 2 different parks.
Right.
And I ultimately just said, you know something, just give me back my money. We're fine. We'll find something else to buy.
Yeah, and it's funny. I've had a couple of deals I walked away from where I had to be, connected to the seller for a while, and the seller was just so bizarre that I couldn't deal with it. So I know exactly what you're talking about, and it's smart to do it too.
Look, man, I love making money, and I love doing deals, but I've also had bad deals that have happened to me in my 32 years.
Yeah.
And most of the time when there's a bad deal, it's somebody on the other side of the table that's a little bit cuckoo, all right? Or bizarre behavior or something that doesn't make any sense to me, whatever they're trying to do. I don't know that her biggest problem was that I out-negotiated her. I can only believe that because it's the only explanation I can come up with. And it is what it is. And I don't have any qualms about it. I'll just move on. There's
Yeah, that's
always
great.
another deal.
Sure. Yeah, sure. Yeah, so by the way, if you have any questions, 855-939-1137, 855-939-1137. You can call, and even if you're calling and the show is not live, we will try to answer the phone. We get a lot of calls during the week. We'll try to answer the phone. You may even be able to get me, and I'll be able to talk to you directly. I'm Larry Steinhaus, and of course, I'm here with Phil Falcone. I can't even say it the way you say it. How do
My
you say it?
business partner.
Is that like the B?
We don't want to be thought of as partners.
Yes.
That usually means something else in today's world.
But it is Gay Pride Month, so
It is?
Are you okay with that?
I didn't know that.
Yeah, you didn't know it was Gay
Well,
Pride Month?
in light of Gay Pride Month, will you be my partner this
Yeah, I'll
month?
be your partner for Gay Pride. There you go. You're still a little short for me, but I'm okay with it.
Well, there could be advantages to that.
I just thought about that. Wait, we're going off on a weird tangent right now.
Okay. Why don't you want to get into the stock option Sultan picture?
Yeah, let's do it. Okay, all right, hurry, here we go.
Stock option Sultan. Stock option Sultan.
And if you have never been around for a Stock Option Sultan presentation, you must either be here in person or online and watch the Stock Option Sultan presentation. It is absolutely the most fun you'll ever have with stock options. Okay, so first of all, let's go into the market. Ba, 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 ba. Oh, boy. So the market's kind of a weird place right now. We talk about Bitcoin being, or not Bitcoin, but crypto being the lead a lot. And right now, crypto is just leveled. It's not doing much. I mean, for you people who are in Bitcoin, I feel sorry for you if you bought it at 60 because it's now at 35. But it's not moving much. It's moving between 35 and 40 and kind of staying there. Ethereum, by the way, I still have Ethereum. I told you I bought some just for the fun of it. Mm-hmm. So I have about 6 coins total of Ethereum, and it's kind of fun to just watch it. But it's not really a major investment. I have a really weird thought about both Bitcoin and Ethereum. You know, like how when we buy stocks or stock options, there's a bid and an ask. So you would bid a certain amount of money and you would ask a certain amount of money. When I bought Ethereum, the few times I buy it, there is no bid and ask. There's a price, and that's all there is. So I don't understand how they come up with that price.
Well, I mean, isn't stock traded on a bid and an ask that are sometimes only 1 penny off of each other?
Yeah, but that's fine. There's only 1 penny off of it, but at least I have the choice that I could put in a bid price or I could put in an ask price. And again, if you're a crypto person and you could explain this to me, I'd love to know. Well, I'm not much of a crypto guy, but I don't understand how there's no bid and ask in crypto. There's just the price, whatever it is today, is what it is. So why not just drive the price up by just saying make the number up? So again, crypto is a little weird for me, but then it is what it is. All right, so gold is another cool place to be. Gold right now is finally starting to move back up. It's almost at 1,900 again. I've been telling people to buy gold and silver for the last few months, and gold and silver is a really nice place to just park money and also be there in case something happens. But let's go to some of the interesting places. Apple is still my favorite play right now. And if you are a stock investor, not necessarily a stock options investor, I'm going to talk about the stock option in a second, but Apple as a stock, just buy it. Buy it, put it aside, buy it. This is also a good play for a selling covered calls because it's not moving. It sits there. It goes between 124 and 127, 124 and 127, 124 and 127. So when it's right around where it is now, which is 126, buy it, sell the 127 covered call, make a couple of bucks on it, sit on it, and wait for it. Absolute worst case scenario is it'll drop 5 or 6 more points, and you just sit on it and come right back. Apple surprises me with what's going on in the stock market. I don't see why Apple isn't at 150, 160, 170 already. And I still think it's going to happen. I said it was going to happen this spring. We're not at the spring quite yet, but I believe that the spring is, we still have a chance. It's still going to hit the 150s. I just don't know when. I'm surprised it's not there yet, but I can easily see it happening. Facebook's been in the news a lot. Did you know that they banned Trump from Facebook for 2 years?
Yes.
Is that the dumbest thing you've ever heard?
I think it's more than dumb. I think it's...
It's a bad precedent.
I think it's really bothers me that they did that, okay? And it makes me want to just not really be a user of Facebook. I mean, it makes me hate them.
Yeah, I understand.
Because Trump is my president, and I'm deeply insulted that they would do that to him. And the whole thing is very hard for me to get over with, and it really makes me feel like they're a treasonous company.
Yeah, I mean, I can understand the knee-jerk reaction on the 6th where a bunch of false information about a fake insurrection happened, whatever, and they wanted to shut him down just temporarily. I could almost I don't really agree with that either, but I can almost. But then to say that he never said anything that all the other politicians, all the Democrats that caused riots, but we're going off on political again.
Orange man bad.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So tell me what you think of the Facebook stock right now.
Yeah, so Facebook's at 330. I don't see it. I don't understand why it's at 330. I still see it dropping below 300. As a matter of fact, I have a alert set for 297. When it's 297, I'm going to buy calls, but I do have a put on it. I have a 315 or 320 put. I can't remember which. So I believe Facebook will drop before it goes back. But as I said before, I think it's going to drop and then hit 350. My prediction is it's going to hit an absolute bottom low of 280, and it may not hit that, but really close to 280 before it hits 350. And it's at 330 now, so it's pretty close to the higher side number. But I still believe it's going to drop down. I also like, so we actually. I want to talk about real quick about the Reddit stocks. Like AMC. Wow, what a run-up that was. Now, AMC, right now, by the way, it's at 43. It hit 57 the other day, which is absolutely ridiculous. Where did they come up with these numbers? But I was having a little bit of fun. I wanted to see what the December put for AMC was for a $10 strike price. Now, a normal stock, if you have a 57 at the time when I looked at it, or 55 I think it was when I looked at it, a normal stock, if you were to go to a $10 put for 6 months from now, it might be 2 cents. It might be 2 cents. It might be 10 cents at most. It was $2. So I was shocked to see that the December put was $2. It basically says that everyone knows that this stock is going to tank, and and that's clearly what it is. But we stay away from the Reddit stocks. We've been burned on a couple of them, and most people get burned on them, and I would stay away from them. That doesn't mean that you should, it doesn't mean that if you want to throw some money at a Reddit stock, go right ahead. But at the same time, we don't play to gamble. We play to win. So I'm not a big fan of the Reddit stocks, AMC and GameStop. I would stay away from them. Do you have something you want to talk about?
Yeah, I want to ask your opinion on the market in general. I'm getting a lot of information being sent my way about a potential crash that's coming.
It is.
And what's your thoughts on that?
So there is a potential crash coming. Right now we're in a range again. So as stock options traders, we're in a really good place right now. We're in a range, and now we just need to start picking the ranges of our stocks. And we teach you to pick 6 stocks and the ranges of the stocks. And the ranges are there. So I like the idea of Facebook. Facebook, again, is going to drop. Apple's fantastic. Alibaba at 220 is a beautiful play. I'd like to see it go lower before I buy some more, but I think Alibaba will hit 250. I think AAL, American Airlines, 25, again, it's in a good range. I'd like to see it at 22. CCL 25. All of these are great numbers. All right.
All right, so if you're interested in being a sponsor on this show, you can contact us at info@investorschooling.com, info@investorschooling.com. And we would love to have you be an advertiser on our show. We are out of here.
This program is a paid commercial announcement and in no way represents the views of WPHT or its management.
Hey, Frank. Or Sean.